Hello, this is William McAusland, creator of the Mutant Epoch RPG and setting. Today I'd like to talk about Mutant Bestiary 1. Let's take a look at the back cover. What a freak show! Keep your post-apocalyptic game players on the edge of their seats with 173 all-new creatures from Abhorra to Ziagota. Your players are going to ask, now what the hell is that? Have your Mutant Epoch players seen it all? Looking for more than the 104 monsters found in the Hub Rules book? Well, this richly illustrated tome is the answer. Dive in and get ready to throw some surprises their way. Of course, any game master can easily convert the stat blocks of these critters to another system. This collection of nasty freaks, from the blood mold to the earth-shaking mobile immortus tree, will challenge and intrigue excavators of low to high ranks. Also included are humanoid and bipedal specimens that can be played as new character types, if the GM allows it, including Krenth catfolk, diminutive devilkins, dog boys, anthrotortoises, bipedal raccoons, and haughty, pale-skinned underfoot. Featured in this book are 173 creatures, from animals such as sheep and deer that often exhibit mutations, to terrifying offshoots, predatory plants, bioengineered organic weapons, and hyper-evolving monsters of the wasteland, bog, ruins, and reef. The majority of these creatures have their own random mutation lists, so making up unique beasties is a cinch. Encounter tables are broken down into terrain types as well as the difficulty ratings for low, mid, and high-rank character parties. Each creature is depicted in either a group or individual illustration, a total of 167 images. For Society of Excavator members only, we place all the art in this book as PDF sheets that you can print off or present on your tablet and show your players when you need to declare, "This is what you see." Just some of the creatures you'll meet in this 148-page collection: 16 humanoids, 68 animals of old and their offshoots, 5 new predatory plants, 3 whales, 11 new insects, 12 slugs, snails, and mollusks, 8 crustaceans, 7 new cats, 6 new dogs, 4 ape variants, and 30 assorted monstrous fiends. Alright, taking a look inside, we have the standard print edition grayscale image of the cover art, the publisher's info page. Now we've come to the table of contents, showing all the creatures included in this book. These are fully clickable in the PDF version of the book, as is the index at the back, as well as the encounter tables. Now let's do a quick flip through. There's a brief introduction, and then we get right into the creatures, starting with the Abhorra. Then we have an assortment of armadillos, normal, spiny, and great. Badgers, a normal, and a bone eater. Then we come to battle apes on page 11, with the wild chimp, Psy chimp, wild gorilla, and the Psy gorilla. And then on page 15 we have beavers, with normal, tusked, and omnivorous. The bicrustodon, the blade tail, blood moles, bog lurkers, brain hounds. And then one of my personal favorites is the bug crit species. They come in drones, warriors, scout flyers, and the enormous egg queen. For the bug crits, I was inspired by the aliens from the Alien movie, especially the egg queen here. And then we move on to page 23. We have a calamusk, which is a bizarre scorpion crayfish creature. And then cats too. Now in the Hub Rules, there's already a section on cats, as there is with dogs. This one covers jaguars, ocelots, lynx, bobcat, cougars, shamblers, and the enormous hackers. Then on page 27 we see the cough jaw, then the creeping impaler, the crimson slinker. Now we're on page 30, crustaceans. So here we have land crabs, giant hermit crabs, bog shrimp, marauder shrimp, an Epochian great lobster, and crabkins. Of course, they have their own mutation list. Page 34 we see the Desi roller, revolting thing. And on page 35 we have deepkin, also called tunnel lords, which are mutants that fight with their minds more than their bodies and don't use relics at all. Deer are covered on page 36, and we have blacktail, whitetail, mule deer, caribou, elk, moose, pronghorn antelope, and our own creature, the nosbuck. Then we come to a new favorite of mine, the devilkins. They're a tiny race of often nasty little mite-type things. They can occur with wings, but they're not necessarily supposed to be post-apocalyptic fairies, although there could be. And they're neat because what you do here is you roll their skin color, you roll their disposition towards big folk or standard sized characters, their appearance of the devilkin strain, their intelligence, their morale, mutations of the devilkin, Alright, on page 41 we come to Dogs 2. Now of course Dogs 1 are included in the hub rules. Here we have the normal fox, black slinker fox, normal coyote, ruined coyote, and the Norma's dread dog. Then we come to the Domogoth, also called a shocker fiend. Then we come to page 45 and the Entropy Beast. Now this is probably one of the most powerful, dangerous creatures in the book, perhaps in the whole Mutant Epoch milieu. So dangerous we had to put 2 illustrations for it. Here's one taking out a whole character party. Page 47 we come to the Epochian merfolk, which are basically just humanoids that have gills, fish-like fin, webbed hands, and were genetically engineered. Then the nasty, disgusting, fetid Ultach, followed by the Float Fiend, which uses a random mental mutation each round. Then the Geloids, which are almost invisible when they're, especially in wet environments or in water. On page 51 we cover goats, with normal goats, mountain, and the Lucifer goat. And there it is, look at that thing, omnivore. Page 53 we see the Hellcrawler. Maybe this is the most dangerous thing in the book. It's probably the most disturbing. Again, this one needed 2 illustrations. Then we come to the only opossum in the book. It's a monster, the Hexfrill opossum. Then we have the Hook Gasher, which are man-sized and make multiple attacks. Then we come to the Horde Slicer. Get slashed by this thing and you'll bleed out. Page 58 we see the Hyena Sapien. And the Impaler Z's, which are mutant starlings, bat hybrids, which stab into their prey and break off their beaks and leave larvae inside the unfortunate victim. Page 60 we come to Insects 2A. Now there's a 2A and a 2B because there's so many. Insects 1A and 1B are covered in the hub rules. So for this new book, new species of insects include carnivorous grasshoppers, swamp mantis, woodland mantis, killer bee swarms, giant diving beetles, scissor caterpillars, Epochian fireflies, locust swarms, giant stick bugs, enormous earwigs, and flesh-eating cockroaches. There you go. And insects in this book have their own mutation table. And then we come to another very powerful apex predator. This is the junk stalker. You never know what it's going to spray out of its upper back mounted spray nozzles. We come to the Corvus and the Krenth. Now the Krenth are a cat folk, and these can actually be played as a player character if your GM allows. Marmots, normal, giant, and saber. Mice, including normal, aquatic, venomous, and swarmer mice. Now look at this illustration here. This guy is being eaten alive. Swarmer mice are like piranhas of the land. Then we come to millipedes. There are 3 types. There's bleach, carrion, and giant. This illustration shows all 3 for scale. Brutal things. Page 72, we've come to mollusks. There's a pond trap, the spear clam, the swamp jaw, and the multi-snagger. And on page 75 we come to a species of bat folk called nightwings. And we come to otters on page 76 with river otters, sea otters, and then an enormous man-taker. And here's an illustration showing it in scale to one of its human victims. Page 78 we have pigs with normal pigs, wild boar, great tusks, and then the humanoid oinkers. Then we have pitjackers. They're 4-armed, very powerful, orc-like humanoids of the depths. Plants 2, with Plants 1 being covered in the hub rules. This book covers burr throwers, dagger trees, puff moss, ripper vines, and the mobular mortis tree, and a colossal mobular mortis tree. If you flip back to the cover for a second, way in the distance there, you'll see a mobular mortis tree with its giant roots stretching forward towards the viewer. These things are giant weeping willows that actually move around, scouring the landscape and feeding on organic matter, particularly flesh. Here's an illustration of one. Pond ghouls are covered on page 86. And porcupines with normal, spine throwers, and giant Prothomus, nasty flying freak. Rabbits are covered on page 89 with cottontails, jackrabbits, giant rabbits, which you can ride, and then thrasher rabbits on the next page. Thrasher rabbits are omnivorous, pack-hunting, almost wolf-like. Raccoons are covered on page 91. You have normal, flesh-eaters, and bipedal. Rad creeper, saber gut, and then on page 94, the dreaded Sagarath. These things are malevolent, intelligent, and often control lesser creatures. Then we have the sawwing and the scrags. Scrags are small relic and robotics using humanoids. Not always malicious, but tend to be conniving and will use those they encounter. Sheep are also talked about in this book, with normal sheep, bighorns, and thunder sheep. Skinners, nasty humanoids that wear the faces and epidermis of the most attractive victims they can capture. Page 101, we come to skunks. Normal skunks, which are bad enough. Then there's the eroder, which the spray will actually start to dissolve its victims. Then the massive predatory skunk. These things are nasty, pit bull-sized creatures. Then the sky demon, which uses gas bags to help it stay aloft. Then the sky strafer. This thing fires lumps of calcium carbonate at ground targets before swooping in to consume them. Of course, we come to slugs. What would the apocalypse be without frothing, holocaust-jawed, and gargantuan slugs? And then we come to another strange creature called the snagger. Then we come to snails with death quills, swamp creepers, reef horrors, and monstrous. This poor guy doesn't have much of a chance. Page 111 we come to the soul leech, which uses a willpower drain attack and a stun whip. On page 112 we see the spike blade. Squirrels with normal, whiptail, carnivorous, and freakish squirrels. Then we come to the stone spitter on page 115. This thing uses fist-sized kidney stones to fire at targets 40 meters away. Then the tall clipper on page 116, followed by the terrafin species, which are terrestrial trout. They come in hatchling size, silverlings, goldlings, and then the enormous spawners. Tree squid, also known as wall squid when found inside the ruins. Turtles, including the giant snapper, the clubtail, anthrotortoise, and the deep terror. Now here's an all-new race called the Underfoot. These things are slightly smaller than humans. They have white skin, silver hair, and lean bodies. They are a relic-using race which have conquest of the surface world in mind. On page 124 we come to the wailing hookfiend, followed by the waste stalker, weasels, including the nasty great weasel and the hydra weasel shown here. Then we move on to whales, where you can encounter mutant dolphins, mutant killer whales, and mutant baleen whales. Now we also have a humanoid wolf species called wolfer, or dogboy. We come to wolverines with two types, normal, which are bad enough, and then there's an enormous flare. On page 133 we come to the Zelshmel. This is probably one of the hardest things to pronounce in this book. These nasty humanoids are great for using as the big bad for a mid to high rank adventure. Page 135 we have the Ziagota, also called the Organ Taker. On page 136 we come to the encounter tables. The encounter tables themselves are set up the same as those in the hub rules. And there are 3 rank tiers for encounter strength, with low ranks being for 1 to 4th, mid ranks 5 to 9th, and high ranks 10 and up. Then we come to a few ads for the Crossroads region and other books in our line. And there you go. Mutant Bestiary 1 is available as a PDF for $9.99 and as a softcover book for $22.99.
Hello there, meat-based life form. You can learn more about Mutant Bestiary 1 at www.outlandarts.com/mutantbestiary1.htm. And hey, thanks for listening and happy gaming. Happy gaming. Happy gaming. Happy gaming. Happy gaming.